Have you ever felt stuck, unable to be yourself? Like being trapped in a place or role that doesn't let you grow? Imagine someone sitting inside, wishing to go outside, to breathe fresh air, and to feel free. This is the kind of struggle Adrienne Rich talks about in her poem, The Trees. But instead of people, she uses trees to show the fight for freedom and life. Hi everyone! Welcome to today's video. In this video, we look at Adrienne Rich poem, The Trees, and break it down into simple and easy to understand ideas. Let's get started. Before we get into the details of the poem, let's take a quick look at the poet and the poem itself. The poem The Trees is written by Adrienne Rich, a famous American poet. She is known for writing about social and political issues, especially feminism. In this poem, she uses nature as a powerful symbol of change and freedom. To truly understand the depth of the trees, it's important to know the context in which it was written. The Trees was written during a time when people were becoming more aware of environmental issues. Adrienne Rich uses the image of trees to highlight how nature can inspire personal and global change. Now that we have a sense of the context, let's talk about the style of the poem. This poem is written in free verse, which means it doesn't follow any specific rhyming pattern or rhythm. This style reflects the natural, unrestrained movement of trees, making the poem feel free and flowing just like nature itself. Now that we've talked about the poet, context, and style, let's dive into the meaning of the trees. The poem tells the story of trees breaking free from being trapped inside a house and returning to the wild. It's a symbol of freedom and change. The trees struggle, just like people do, to escape being trapped and find their true place in the world. The speaker watches this moment of change, while nature, the night, wind, and moon helps the trees gain their freedom. Let's break it down step by step to uncover the powerful imagery, emotions, and messages Adrienne Rich has woven into her words. Each stanza adds a unique layer to the story of the trees and their journey toward freedom. Let's explore them one by one. In the first stanza, the poet describes how the trees are moving out of the house and returning to an empty forest. The forest has been lifeless, no birds, no insects, not even shadows. By morning, the trees will fill it with life again. Let's break it down line by line. The trees inside are moving out into the forest. In this line, the poet describes the trees that were trapped inside are now leaving the house and going back to the forest. The forest that was empty all these nights. In this line, the poet describes the forest has been empty for many nights with nothing living in it, where no bird could sit, no insect hide. This line says that no animals or insects could live in the forest because it was so empty. No sun bury its feet in shadow. In this line, the poet describes the forest was so empty that even the sun couldn't cast a shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. This line says by morning, the trees will fill the forest, and it will come alive again. In stanza 2, the trees are struggling to free themselves from the house. Their roots are pulling away from the floor, and their leaves and branches are stretching hard to move. It's like they are trying to move after being stuck for a long time, just like people recovering and trying to walk again. Let's break it down line by line. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. In this line, the poet describes the roots are working all night to pull themselves out of the cracks in the floor. This shows how the trees are struggling to get free from where they are stuck. The leaves strain toward the glass, small twigs stiff with exertion. In this line, the poet says that the leaves are reaching toward the glass, trying to move outside, while the small branches are stiff because they've been trying hard to move. Long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof like newly discharged patients half-dazed, moving to the clinic doors. In this line, the branches have been stuck in the same place for a long time, and now they're slowly moving like people who just got out of the hospital and are weak and confused. They're trying to move, but it's hard for them. In the third stanza, the speaker is inside the house, writing letters, but they don't really notice or pay much attention to the trees and forest moving outside. Let's break it down line by line. I sit inside, doors open to the veranda. The line says that the speaker is sitting inside the house and the doors are open, allowing them to look out at the veranda, a small porch area. Writing long letters. The speaker is busy writing letters, possibly thinking or reflecting on something important, in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. In the letters, the speaker hardly talks about the trees leaving the house or the forest returning. This shows that the speaker doesn't seem to focus much on the big change happening outside. In the fourth stanza, the night feels fresh and alive, and the smells and sounds from outside are making their way into the house. The speaker is thinking quietly, but their thoughts will soon disappear. Let's break it down line by line. The night is fresh, the whole moon shines in a sky still open. In this line, the night feels new and clear, with a full moon shining brightly in the wide, open sky. It's peaceful and calm. The smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. Here, the scent of leaves and lichen fills the air and seems to come inside the house like a voice speaking. It creates a connection between the inside and outside worlds. My head is full of whispers which tomorrow will be silent. It's mean the speaker's mind is filled with soft, quiet thoughts, whispers. But these thoughts will fade away and be forgotten by tomorrow. In the final stanza, the trees escape, the wind welcomes them, and the moon breaks, making the moment feel powerful and magical. Let's break it down line by line. Listen. The glass is breaking. Here, you hear the sound of glass shattering, marking the moment when the trees are finally escaping from the house. The trees are stumbling forward into the night. In this line, the poet describes the trees as they struggle to move forward into the night. Even though they are stumbling and facing difficulty, they are finally breaking free from their confinement and heading out into the open world. Wind rushed to meet them. In this line, the poet describes the wind blows toward the trees as if greeting them and celebrating their freedom. The moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. In this line, the poet describes the moon break into pieces, and its light reflects off the top of the tallest oak tree, creating a magical and powerful moment. Now that we've explored the poem line by line, let's take a look at its key message. The message of the trees is about the strength of nature and its ability to renew itself. It symbolizes growth, freedom, and the deep connection between humans and the natural world. Let's take a closer look at the poetic devices Adrian Rich uses to bring the trees to life. The poem uses several poetic devices to convey its meaning. Imagery, vivid descriptions, like roots work and leaves strain, help us visualize the tree's struggle. Personification. The trees are given human qualities, like working and shuffling, to show their emotional journey. Metaphor. The moon breaking like a mirror symbolize change and fragility. Repetition. Lines like, "The forest that was empty all these nights" emphasize the transformation of the forest. Alliteration. Phrases like, "Small twigs stiff with exertion" add rhythm and highlight the effort of the trees. Symbolism. The trees represent freedom, the glass stands for barriers, and the moon signifies change. The Trees poem is a beautiful and thought-provoking poem that reminds us of the power of nature and the importance of freedom and growth. It's not just about trees, it's about all of us and our connection to the world around us. So, next time if you feel trapped, whether it's by rules, expectations, or your environment, think of the trees in this poem. Remember that, just like them, you have the power to break free and return to a place where you can truly grow and be yourself. In this session, we'll explore the poem Fog by Carl Sandburg. It's a short yet beautiful poem that captures the quiet, mysterious movement of fog in a unique way. The poem Fog describes how fog moves into a city and over a harbor. The poet compares the fog to a small cat. Just like a cat, the fog comes in quietly, sits still as if observing everything, and then moves away silently. This creates a peaceful and mysterious feeling for the reader. The poem conveys several important messages and themes. temporary and gentle. The fog, like many things in life, is temporary and moves in and out gently, calm and quiet. The fog's quiet movement brings a sense of peace and calm. Mystery. The fog's silent presence adds a touch of mystery to the scene. Observing the world. The fog sits looking, which reminds us to take time to observe and enjoy quiet moments in life. Now, let's look at the key lines of the poem and their meaning. The fog comes on little cat feet. This means the fog moves in softly and quietly, just like a cat. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. This describes how the fog sits calmly, looking at everything, and then slowly leaves, just like a cat sitting still before walking away. To summarize, the fog, like a cat, appears quietly, sits still for a moment as if it's watching, and then moves on without making a sound. The poem highlights the calm, mysterious, and fleeting nature of fog using simple and vivid imagery. In today's video, we're diving into Robert Frost's beautiful poem, Dust of Snow. This is one of those timeless poems that shows us how small, unexpected moments in nature can have a profound impact on our lives. Imagine this. It's a gloomy day, and you're feeling weighed down by negativity. Suddenly, a small act, like the gentle fall of snow, lifts your spirits and completely changes your mood. That's exactly what happens in this poem. In just 8 lines, Frost captures the magic of nature's healing power and reminds us to find joy in even the simplest moments. Stick around as we break down the poem line by line, explore its themes, symbolism, and poetic devices, and uncover the powerful message it holds for us all. So, whether you're a student preparing for your exams or someone who loves poetry, this video is for you. Let's get started with the explanation of Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. In the poem Dust of Snow, the poet Robert Frost shows us how a small event can change our mood. He talks about how a crow shakes some snow off a tree, and it falls on him. This small thing makes him feel better and changes his sad mood. Frost teaches us that even little things in nature can bring happiness and help us feel better. Let's look at the main symbols in the poem. Dust of snow. The snow represents nature's power to make us feel better. Even small moments like this can bring hope and joy. Crow. Normally, crows are seen as signs of bad luck, but in the poem, the crow helps bring a positive change. Hemlock tree. This tree is poisonous and often seen as a sad or negative symbol, but here, it helps create a good moment, showing us that good things can come from bad situations too. Let's break down in simple stanza and analysis for the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. In the first stanza, the poet describes what happens. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow, from a hemlock tree. Here, the poet is talking about a crow sitting on a hemlock tree. The crow shakes the tree, and the snow falls on him. The crow and the tree are usually symbols of bad luck, but this event doesn't bring bad luck. Instead, it brings something pure and beautiful, snow. This shows that good things can happen even in sad or negative situations. In the second stanza, the poet shares how this small event changes his mood. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Before the snow falls on him, the poet was having a bad day. He was feeling sad and regretting things. But when the snow falls on him, it makes him feel better and saves his day. This shows how nature can help us feel better, even with something small like a few snowflakes. The main message of Dust of Snow is that even small things in nature can make a big difference in how we feel. Sometimes, when we feel sad, a small act of nature can make us feel better and help us see things in a more positive way. In this short poem, Robert Frost reminds us that we should appreciate the small, beautiful moments in life. Nature can change our mood, even when we don't expect it. So next time you feel down, look for the little things around you, because sometimes they can brighten your day. Close your eyes and picture a powerful tiger. its bright orange coat gleaming in the wild, running freely through the jungle. Now, imagine that same tiger, but this time, it's trapped in a small cage. It paces back and forth, frustrated and sad, unable to roam and hunt as it was meant to. In A Tiger in the Zoo, poet Leslie Norris gives us a powerful look at the tiger's world in captivity. Today, we'll explore how this poem makes us think about freedom, nature, and what it means to be truly alive. Let's begin. The poem is about a tiger who is locked up in a zoo. Instead of being free in the wild, it walks back and forth in its small cage. The tiger is strong and beautiful, but it can't do what it's meant to do, like hunt or roam. The poet shows us how different the tiger's life is in the zoo compared to how it would be in the wild, where it would be free and happy. Let's talk about the key themes of the poem. First, freedom versus captivity. The tiger is a symbol of nature's beauty and power, but the cage takes away its freedom and makes it helpless. Next, the poem talks about humans versus nature. It shows that humans have hurt nature by locking animals in cages instead of letting them live freely in their homes. Finally, frustration and sadness. The tiger is angry and sad because it can't live the way it should. It is trapped and can't act freely. Now, let's look at the poem line by line to understand what the tiger is going through. In stanza 1, he stalks in his vivid stripes. The tiger walks back and forth inside the cage. Its body has bright and beautiful stripes. The few steps of his cage. The tiger can only take a few steps because the cage is small. On pads of velvet white. The tiger's paws are soft and quiet, so it makes no sound while walking. In his quiet rage, the tiger is very angry, but it does not roar. Its anger is silent because it feels trapped. In stanza 2, he should be lurking in shadow. The poet says that the tiger should be hiding in the jungle shadows, sliding through long grass. The tiger should move smoothly through the tall grass in the wild. Near the waterhole. The tiger should be near a waterhole where animals come to drink water, where plump deer pass. The tiger would wait there to hunt deer, which are its natural prey. In stanza 3, he should be snarling around houses. The tiger should be growling near houses at the edge of the jungle. At the jungle's edge. This is where the jungle meets human villages. Baring his white fangs, his claws. The tiger would show its sharp teeth, fangs, and claws, scaring the villagers, terrorizing the village. The tiger would create fear in the village, as it is strong and powerful in its natural habitat. Stanza 4. But he's locked in a concrete cell. Instead of living freely in the jungle, the tiger is trapped inside a hard concrete cage. His strength behind bars. The tiger's power and strength are useless because it is trapped behind metal bars. Stalking the length of his cage. The tiger walks back and forth in the small cage, feeling frustrated. Ignoring visitors. The tiger does not care about the people who come to watch it in the zoo. It is angry and helpless. Stanza 5. He hears the last voice at night. At night, the zoo becomes quiet, and the tiger hears the sound of patrolling cars outside. The patrolling cars. These are the cars of guards or policemen moving around the area, and stares with his brilliant eyes. So, what are the main ideas in this poem? First, freedom versus captivity. The tiger should be free in the jungle, but it is locked up in a small cage. Next, frustration. The tiger is angry and sad because it can't live the way it should. And lastly, human cruelty. Humans put wild animals in zoos, taking away their freedom and natural way of life. The message of the poem is clear. The poet wants to show that animals, like this tiger, belong in the wild, not in cages. Keeping a tiger in a zoo takes away its freedom and makes it unhappy. The next time you see an animal in captivity, think about the life it could be living in its natural home. And that's the end of the poem A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. The poem beautifully shows the tiger's helplessness in captivity and reminds us that wild animals deserve to live freely in their natural habitats.
Have you ever thought about how the world might end? Will it burn up in fire, or will it freeze in ice? Today, we are going to look at Robert Frost's famous poem, Fire and Ice, where he explores this idea in just 9 simple but powerful lines. Here's a quick summary of Fire and Ice. The poet talks about 2 possible ways the world could end, fire or ice. Fire stands for desire, greed, and passion, strong emotions that can destroy everything. Ice, on the other hand, stands for hatred, indifference, and coldness, feelings that can break relationships and ruin lives. At first, Frost agrees that fire, mean desire, could destroy the world, but he also believes that ice, which is hatred, is just as harmful. Both are powerful enough to cause destruction in their own way. The main message of Fire and Ice is that human emotions, whether strong passion or cold indifference, can be dangerous. Frost warns us that both uncontrolled desire, which is fire, and hatred, mean ice, can cause destruction, whether in our personal lives, in society, or even to the whole world. This shows how extreme emotions can lead to serious and lasting damage. Now, let's talk about the powerful symbolism in this poem. Fire symbolizes desire, passion, and greed. It represents emotions that burn intensely and can consume people or societies. Ice symbolizes hatred, indifference, and apathy. It's cold and destructive, representing feelings that freeze relationships and destroy unity. By contrasting these 2 forces, Frost highlights the destructive nature of human extremes. Let's take a look at the literary devices Frost uses to make this poem so impactful. Imagery: Frost uses vivid imagery of fire and ice to create a stark contrast between passion and hatred. Symbolism: fire and ice are symbols of human emotions, desire and hatred. Alliteration: the repetition of sounds, like "some say" and "favor fire," creates a rhythmic flow. Irony: the poem highlights that while fire and ice seem opposite, both can lead to destruction, emphasizing the irony of extremes. Now, let's break the poem down line by line to understand its full meaning. Some say the world will end in fire. Frost starts by talking about a common belief that the world will end in fire. Fire here stands for destruction caused by strong emotions like desire, greed, or even war. Some say in ice. On the other hand, some people think the world will freeze. Ice represents the harm caused by hatred, coldness, and indifference. From what I've tasted of desire, Frost talks about his own experience with desire. He hints that it can be overwhelming and very dangerous. I hold with those who favor fire. Here, Frost agrees with those who believe that fire, meaning desire, could be the cause of the world's destruction. He sees desire as a strong and consuming force. But if it had to perish twice, Frost introduces the idea that the world might not just end once but could be destroyed in more than one way. I think I know enough of hate. Now, Frost talks about hatred. He says he knows how destructive hate can be, just like desire. To say that for destruction ice. Frost explains that hatred, symbolized by ice, is just as dangerous and powerful as fire. It can also destroy the world. Is also great. This line points out how strong ice, hatred, really is. Even though it seems calm and quiet, it can still cause great destruction. And would suffice. In the last line, Frost makes his point clear: whether it's fire or desire or ice or hatred, either one alone is enough to destroy everything. It's a warning about how dangerous human emotions can be. So, what does Robert Frost's Fire and Ice teach us? It reminds us that both desire and hatred, strong passion and cold indifference, can lead to destruction. Whether it's on a personal level, like broken relationships, or on a bigger scale, like war or apathy, Frost warns us about the dangers of going to extremes. What do you think? Is fire more dangerous, or is it ice? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
The Ball Poem by John Berryman. It's short, simple, but teaches us a big life lesson. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see why this poem is so powerful. So, let's get started. So, what's happening in the poem? Well, it starts with a little boy losing his ball when it bounces into the water. He stands still, staring sadly at the place where his ball disappeared. The poet tells us that buying a new ball wouldn't help because the old ball was special. But why is this ball so important? The ball isn't just a toy, it represents the boy's happiness, innocence, and childhood memories. Losing it is the first time the boy faces the idea of loss. It's a big moment for him. Let's talk about the key themes in The Ball Poem. Loss and grief. The poem shows that losing something important can be painful. The boy feels sad, and this moment is a lesson for him. Growing up, the boy begins to learn that life isn't always fair. He realizes that things we love can be lost, and we must learn to accept it. Money can't replace everything, the poet says. A dime, another ball, is worthless. This means that money can buy new things, but it cannot bring back the memories or emotions attached to what we lost. Learning to stand up again. The poet says the boy is learning the epistemology of loss, understanding loss. This means the boy is learning how to accept loss and stand strong. This is an important lesson for all of us as we grow up. Now, let's go through the poem line by line. What is the boy now, who has lost his ball? The poet starts by asking a question. What will happen to the boy who just lost his ball? A young boy loses his ball while playing, and the poet wonders how the boy will react to this loss. Example, imagine a child losing their favorite toy. It's very special to them, so they feel sad and confused. What is he to do? I saw it go. The poet repeats the question, showing his concern and curiosity. He says that he saw the ball roll away, merrily bouncing down the street, and then the ball bounces happily down the street as if nothing is wrong. The word merrily shows a contrast. The ball seems joyful, but the boy is upset. Merrily over, there it is in the water. The ball rolls right into the water and disappears. The poet uses the word merrily again to show that life moves on, even if something is lost. No use to say, there are other balls. The poet says it's no help to tell the boy, don't worry, you can get another ball. To the boy, the lost ball is special, and replacing it doesn't fix his sadness. Example, if you lose your favorite teddy bear, getting a new one isn't the same because the old one had memories. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy, as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down. The boy feels shaking grief mean deep sadness because he has lost something important to him. He stands still, staring into the water where his ball has disappeared. He's not crying or running after the ball. He's frozen because the loss feels so heavy. All his young days into the harbor where. The boy looks into the water and remembers all the happy days he spent with the ball. The ball is a symbol of his childhood and innocence. His ball went. I would not intrude on him. The poet says he doesn't want to disturb or comfort the boy. He understands that the boy needs to face this moment on his own. A dime, another ball, is worthless. Now, the poet says that even if someone gave the boy money to buy a new ball, it wouldn't help. This is because the lost ball had emotional value, something money cannot replace. Example, you can buy a new phone if you lose one, but the photos or messages on the old phone are gone forever. He senses first responsibility in a world of possessions. The boy begins to learn his first lesson about responsibility. He realizes that in life, things we own, our possessions, can be lost. Example, when you lose your school bag or a family keepsake, you start to understand that you need to be careful and responsible. People will take balls. Balls will be lost always, little boy. The poet says that losing things is a part of life. It happens to everyone. Here, the ball symbolizes all the things we lose as we grow up, like time, relationships, or innocence. Example, losing friends when you move to a new school or losing time when you waste it. And no one buys a ball back. Money is external. The poet repeats that money cannot bring back what is truly lost. External means outside or material. Money can buy things but not emotions, memories, or feelings. Example, you can't buy happiness or replace a beloved pet with money. He is learning, well behind his desperate eyes, the epistemology of loss, how to stand up. The boy is learning a deep truth about life, how to understand and deal with loss. Epistemology means the study of knowledge. Here, it means he is learning how to cope with losing something important. The phrase, how to stand up, means to be strong and move forward even when you feel sad or broken. Here are some important lines and their meanings. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy. This shows how deeply the boy feels the loss of his ball. Money is external. Money can buy things, but it cannot replace emotions or what is truly important. How to stand up, the poet tells us that loss teaches us to be strong and face life's challenges. The poem teaches us that loss is a part of life. We all lose things we care about. We must learn to accept it and move forward. Growing up means learning how to deal with these tough moments. In The Ball poem, John Berryman shows us that loss is painful, but it also helps us grow. The boy learns to face reality, and this is a lesson we all experience as we grow up. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more literary analysis. See you next time.